UFC Qatar just recently wrapped up, and I'm going to recap the entire card. It was an amazing event. Main event, big performance from Arman Tsarukyan. Co-main event, breakout performance from Machado Garry as he dominated Belal Muhammad. For myself, I went 12-2 on the predictions, so I'm riding high off that as well. Lots to talk about. And even in the back, after the event, little backstage warfare. Khamzat Chimaev and Ian Garry got into it. We'll cover it at the end of the recap. First fight of the night, though. We want to jump in. Let's talk the heavyweights real quick. Marek, Bujło, and Denzel Freeman. This fight should not have been on a UFC card. And I asked Dana White this question. If this was Contender Series, would they even have signed the winner? I would say no. It was a bit of like a slow kickboxing sparring match. Denzel Freeman did pretty good. He was able to outstrike Bujło. Something about these Eastern European guys that come over as heavyweights, their physiques just melt on the regular, right? Like Bujło, he just lost any bit of size he had in his shoulders. If you saw his Tapology picture, like he looked kind of jacked and scary. And then, you know, in the UFC, he just kind of looked like a mush ball. Definitely was pretty underwhelming. I mean, he was 6-0 with the Polish grappling background. That didn't tell me much. I guess he can kind of strike. Two of the judges thought it was 29-28, I guess. It was definitely not a very entertaining fight. Denzel Freeman able to get the decision. But yeah, definitely not a fight where the UFC is like, man, we can't wait to have you guys back. Like the UFC is not like, we're excited to book Denzel Freeman up the ranks. But, you know, at the end of the day, took the fight on short notice. I picked him to win. He still was able to shut down Bujło's game, kept the fight striking, and he outstruck him. You know, he's a decent southpaw. Good performance. Yeah, I take it back. Good performance. No, win. A winning performance. But was it good? No. It was not fun to watch either. But at the end of the day, win's a win. Short notice guy, Denzel Freeman, you got to give him some respect for getting the hand raised, taking the fight, and doing the thing. Let me get to the damn next fight. Nurullo Aliev versus Shamrock. If you told me Nurullo Aliev would have came into this fight and only landed one takedown and just boxed up Shamrock, I would have said, really? I would have said, but Shamrock's boxing's not that good. But just to tune him up like that, holy shit. Shamrock's face was a beaten mess. Nurullo Aliev boxed Shamrock's head off for most of the fight and was able to bring good pressure with strikes, specifically the boxing more than anything else. Catch him towards the cage, win the battle of real estate, had him rocked on a few occasions, was landing some looping hooks and whatnot. There was good shots to the chin on the regular basis from the side of Nurullo Aliev. He really tuned up Shamrock on the feet. And in the wrestling department, Aliev only got one takedown, and Shamrock also got one takedown. So the wrestling, you know, it's kind of canceled out. Shamrock was shooting a lot more. He failed on 8 out of his 9 takedown attempts. But there is the one flag on Nurullo Aliev. I don't think he has a guard. I don't think he knows what a guard is. Obviously, I'm kidding. Not actually. But he doesn't have a guard. We saw Joe Solecki mount him, and we saw Shamrock mount him. Now, he was able to explode and escape the position. But the fact that he was mounted easily by Shamrock, if he fights somebody that can match the wrestling a bit and get on top, my God, his bottom game is suspect. And obviously with Shamrock, he didn't offer much of a takedown or a punch power threat. Really, Shamrock's only way to win the fight seemed like some submission. And then in round 3, with like 3 minutes left, he ends up getting mount, and it's like, no fucking way. Is Aliev about to sell? Because he slows down in the 3rd round. He doesn't. Aliev secures the victory. He is the definition of the decision machine, but I am glad that he showed a bit more power in this fight and polished off some hands, and he landed some good punches. Like, Aliev has potential. It's just, I don't know. He's 24 years old, and he looks a lot like Khabib Nurmagomedov, so expectation versus reality is the type of thing. But I guess he's okay in the lightweight division. I just think, even though he's only 24, I just don't see that thing. You know, like he's going to be striving up the ranks. Like if he fought against Rong Zhu, how does that fight go? Because that's probably next. Like Rong Zhu would make a lot of sense. How does he fare against another guy that's more of a prospect, right? Shamrock's a prospect, but he's in his 30s. Rong Zhu, striker. Like what happens if Rong Zhu stops the takedowns and it turns into a kickboxing match? I think Rong Zhu would tune him up on the feet. Now, obviously, if Aliev gets on top, he can embrace the grind, but I have my doubts about just how far Nurullo Aliev can really make it up the ranks, you know? I don't know. We shall find out. But at the end of the day, victory over Shamrock. Okay, solid enough, right? He looked good in the striking, but I just don't know about his long-term top caliber potential. Now, with the 24-year-old, I could be overshooting my bounds a bit and kind of overly hating here. I'm not trying to. It's just seeing him get mounted so easily. I just have a lot of doubts about what he can do, when he ends up on his back or when somebody meets him with like some kind of resistance. Now, for Shamrock, starts it off 0-1, but there's still fights for him. He could fight somebody like maybe, a Mark Choinsky next or something along those lines. Mitch Ramirez. I don't know. Something like that. I'm not matching Shamrock up, but I know there is there's a bit of a Shamrock cult, and he's a Scouser, but fortunately the Scousers couldn't all win tonight. Good performance for Aliev. Next fight, Ismail Naurdiev nearly decapitated Ryan Loder with a beautifully timed hook, and Loder went down and out, and that was it. I mean, I don't understand why Ryan Loder was trying to kickbox in this fight. Like, he was really just like falling in love with the stand-up. I know he's been training that bang towel, but my God, the chin and the striking, it's just not good. Naurdiev needed one punch. This was my only bad pick on the card. I feel like a moron. I went 12-2 otherwise, but the Ryan Loder pick was a terrible prediction. And Naurdiev put him out in one shot. Like, that's wraps. Ryan Loder, Ultimate Fighter winner. He's now lost 2 straight fights since then in both first-round knockout losses. I'm under the assumption Ryan Loder's UFC roster spot is not lasting all that long. Naurdiev in his prime at 29, 4-3 in the UFC. Obviously, he's on his second UFC stint now. And he was impressive with the knockout. His strike skills are pretty scary. But, it's a win against Ryan Loder on the feet. That doesn't tell me much. I think he should fight Zach Reese next, though. I like that matchup. Him and Zach Reese is a cool fight, right? 4-3 in the UFC, or maybe now 5-3 in the UFC. But, something along those lines. I think 4-3, no? Yeah, 4-3 in the UFC versus, 4-2 in the UFC with 1 no contest. Both guys, relatively prime. 31 for Reese. Even though Naurdiev's got a shitload of pro fights, he's somehow, a few years younger. He's very experienced. I like Naurdiev versus Zach Reese. I want to see what would happen when those two tangle. Now, for Ryan Loder, I really think it's probably outside of the UFC. Maybe if they keep Jackson McVeigh on the roster, they would do a fight like that, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if they keep Ryan Loder around, and I don't know how much longer Ryan Loder is going to fight. I know obviously he's a wrestling coach for MMA fighters, and that's kind of his bread and butter, but his actual striking skill is pretty bad, man, and that's what cost him bad here. So, yeah, big win for Naurdiev. Quick win. Alexandre Topuria, did I tell you if he could secure some takedowns, the striking was going to look better? And we saw it. Securing the takedowns were the key to him absolutely forcing Bekzat into a defensive shell. Topuria's ability, it's not that he needed to beat the shit out of Bekzat with grappling, but with the physicality, even just shooting the takedowns, it kind of stifled Bekzat's striking offense. Early in round 1, Bekzat was very confident. He was unloading with shots, and he was, letting the cork go on punches. But then when Topuria was able to take him down and, land some shots of his own, we saw Bekzat be very defensive-minded and give up the battle of real estate. He was getting pushed backwards towards the cage and circling from there for most of the fight. And Alexandre Topuria studded him up with punches, stiff jabs to the face, rocked him a couple times with big power shots. I'm telling you guys, Alexandre Topuria is a fucking prospect to keep an eye on here at 135 pounds. He's the brother of Ilya, so obviously the expectations were crazy high for the debut. And the thickness performance wasn't the most amazing win ever, but everybody started acting like this kid's a bum. That Bekzat was just gonna buzzsaw him. And I was so happy to see him get through a guy like Bekzat Almakhan. That made me feel good. I was like, let's fucking go. Alexandre Topuria wins against Bekzat. He's a big name in the division. Even though he's only 2-0 in the UFC and doesn't even have 10 pro fights, he's a guy in the weight class that I think you have to consider a fast track. I want to see him fight Cody Garbrandt next. I would like to see the Topuria name versus Garbrandt. Bekzat Almakhan was one of the premier prospects. His only loss was Umar Nurmagomedov in the UFC. And then obviously he destroyed Brad Katona and got him cut from the UFC. I think Alexandre Topuria is going to be moved quicker than your average prospect. And I think that at 29, a fight between him and Cody Garbrandt is one that could definitely be a pleasure to watch. Obviously, Cody Garbrandt's a good boxer, strong wrestling too. But in the later stage of his fighting career, the level of opposition he's fought has been really good. Davis and Figueredo, Heine Barsalos, but his wins have been like Brian Kelleher, Trevin Jones. I'd like to see kind of that crossroads fight. Alexandre Topuria on the rise upward and, Cody trying to hold on to a spot, in the UFC. Obviously, he'll probably be kept around as long as he can before, BKFC signs him if he's released. But I like the Alexandre Topuria Cody Garbrandt fight. I think it's time to give him a little bit of a push. That's what I'm interested in doing. He was pretty dominant in this fight. He beat a good fighter in Beksat Almakhan. And I feel as though a bigger name would suffice for him next. And, for Beksat, he's still got a spot on the roster. He's still a guy people want to watch fight. He's very good. I think him and Ricky Tercios is a perfect matchup to make next. So just some ideas of what could be next. I definitely think that with Alexandre, you have top 15 potential. But with Beksat, I still think you have like top 25 potential as well. So big win for Alexandre nonetheless. And I'm happy I believed, man. I'm happy I believed. Next one. Abdul Rahman Yakhyaev versus Rafael Cerqueira. This was the definition of a squash match. I was the prop king, all right? For the last fight, I said Topuria decision, and I liked fight goes distance at plus 160 all week. With this, Abdul Rahman Yakhyaev, the plus money prop was him to go out and win by sub. And I called it. He got a quick submission after dropping Cerqueira with a head kick. Abdul Rahman Yakhyaev is a fucking prospect to keep an eye on. I really have to say, we need it in the light heavyweight division. And a 24-year-old that's 6'2" with a 78-inch reach, that has some athleticism, that has some striking power, that has some submission skills, he could make waves. Now, I don't want to overhype the prospect too fast, because he's still coming into his own. It's not like... it's not like he has 20 UFC fights or even 5. He's got 1, and he destroyed a guy who's terrible and should not even be in the UFC. But I do think Abdul Rahman Yakhyaev kind of checks out as a prospect that has some upside. I really think that he can put some wins together, man. And I'm looking at the division. I don't think you move him up too fast, but for a next fight for Abdul Rahman Yakhyaev, what about they do Tuco Tokos, who's coming off the Junior Tafa submission? I like the idea of that type of matchup. Or Brenison Ibero, who's coming off that Umar Sy loss. Like, those are two really probable fights to have next for him. And I think Yakhyaev wins both. I mean, I'm looking at Yakhyaev's skill set, and I'm like, how far can he take it? I'd be interested to see him eventually fight Navajo Sterling. I'd want to see how that matchup looks. I mean, does he not seem to have the ability to compete in the top 15 within the next 16 months, 18 months? Like, this division is thin and quick to the top. Obviously, he hasn't been met with any resistance. So we'll see what happens when somebody meets him with a little resistance. But Abdul Rahman Yakhyaev looks real good. Now, for Cerqueira, karate combat. Karate combat for Cerqueira next. I don't think the UFC career is going to exist come later this evening or, potentially Sunday, whenever they send out those pink slips. Next one. Alex Perez versus Asu Almabayev. Kind of close. Alex Perez had a good second round. It was a competitive first round. The fight was really close. And it felt like Alex Perez was actually on his way to pulling off a big upset after round number 2. Was able to take down Almabayev, was catching him with good strikes. I was impressed by Alex Perez early in this fight. But round number 3, he ends up under Almabayev, like elevating and then, getting choked the fuck out. So, Alex Perez, unfortunately, gets choked out in round number 3 in a fight that seemed destined to go all 3. In a fight that maybe he was live to win a competitive decision. He ends up getting caught in a stupid position and choked out by a high-caliber grappler in Asu Almabayev. Good win for Almabayev. I had picked Almabayev, but I was high on the over 2.5, man. Part of the Lock City, bro. I thought it was a good parlay piece. Did not come through. Is what it is. Almabayev should have won. I should have trusted my initial, bro. Almabayev or Orolbai just leg one. But it is what it is. We move forth. I still had a tremendous night. We had a cycle parlay at plus 1,900. So it's all good. But, like, the way that I look at it is, damn, the over 2.5 doesn't come through. Made me a little sad. But then, I was hyped off the W. So it's fine. I was disappointed Alex Perez got finished because I like Alex Perez. I feel like the early rounds, Perez looks like he can still match up with these flyweights in the top 10. And Almabayev is now a top 10 flyweight. And I think Almabayev versus Tim Elliott makes a fuckload of sense next. I don't think you push Almabayev up too quick. It's not like we're going to say, yo, let's do Almabayev versus, the winner of Manel Kopp and Brandon Royval. Obviously, he lost to the side of, Manel Kopp 3 fights ago now. I don't know. When I look at flyweight, number 8, Almabayev. Alex Perez was ranked at 7. There's that Tim Elliott fight right on the table. Of course, upon the return of Amir Albazi, but I don't know what the timeline of return is. I think that's a fight that makes sense. We saw Kyoji Horiguchi break into probably the top 10 now. Kyoji Horiguchi probably next for the title. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, I think Asu Almabayev versus like a Tim Elliott or even potentially a Steve Erceg would make sense. I don't know about them pushing him up to Amir Albazi. I mean, they could. I don't know when Albazi's timeline of return is set for, but if the timeline works out, that could be it. But I feel like there's like less hype on it. Like Albazi is ranked number 4 in the world, but tell me right now if you guys agree. I do not think of Amir Albazi as top 5. Like Tyra is ranked behind Amir Albazi. What? I think of Amir Albazi and I rank him like number 9. I don't even understand why he's in that. Like he had the controversial decision win against the side of Kai Kara France. And what is his other big win? What the fuck? An Alessandro Costa win? Like, why is Amir Albazi still in the top 5? Like, okay, Kai Kara France, sure, on paper, but he lost that fight. And now he's ranked number 5 in the world still, or number 4 in the world, if you don't include the champion. That's weird as hell. Yeah, I don't think he's a top 5 guy at all. So maybe Albazi versus Almabayev next. For Alex Perez, it is what it is, man. It's unfortunately like the tragic downfall. I don't know. Bruno Silva, Joseph Morales, something like that. But maybe he's on track to keep getting submitted. He's coming off that bad knee injury, pulled out of the Erceg fight back in August. So, Perez had good moments in the fight, though. Don't get it twisted. He was looking good. He was up in significant strikes, man. He was up in takedowns. He gets fucking choked out. Big mistake. Unfortunate. But, if he's not getting choked out, Alex Perez is definitely a dog against anybody in the top 15. Nicolas Dalby pulls off the split decision against Saigid Izagakhmaev. I don't know if I agree. I thought it was 29-28 Izagakhmaev. But I also am not going to stand here and say it was an egregious robbery of all types of fucking proportions. No, it wasn't. Fight was, mediocre. Dalby at 41, though, is impressive. The fact that a 41-year-old Nicolas Dalby can push a pace like that, deal with a Dagestani wrestler who's been training with Team Habib since he was a fucking teenager and win. Nicolas Dalby is the definition of gangster. And he was in his face the whole time, clinch fucking him, landing some elbows on the inside. He landed more significant strikes. I mean, if you just look at the strike stats, okay, significant strikes there. But then if you look at the takedowns there, but control there, you can't judge a fight based on stats. I thought Izagakhmaev won 1 and 2 and then lost 3. But I could see one of those rounds being, toss-up. So I don't necessarily say, as I'm leaning back too far, I feel like I'm still on live stream. I don't hate the decision. That's not where I'm going with this. I just felt like maybe Saigid got it. But on the flip side, what's it really matter? It's not like, he blew the fucking roof off the place. And I feel like I can't go as far as to say it was controversial. It was a close decision that could have went either way. And it went the way of Nicolas Dalby. And now he has a win over, a strong Dagestani grappler like Saigid Izagakhmaev. And it shows, Renat Fakhretdinov struggled with Dalby. I see why. Dalby is one of those guys that's always amongst the bunch, right? He's around the top 25 in the weight class. I feel like a matchup between him and Uros Medic is a cool fight. It's kind of a complete contrary stylistic clash. Big knockout win for Uros Medic over Salikov last time, and then hard-fought decision win over Saigid Izagakhmaev for Dalby. I don't think Dalby should be fighting any more debuting guys. I think it should be better opposition. And the Uros Medic fight, Medic's win over Muslim Salikov was a marquee win. I think that fight could be set up next. And it gives us a chance to see how Medic can deal with a guy looking to impose his will with grappling a bit and close-range fighting. Because we know Medic from distance is a fucking sniper, but he can't deal with guys getting up in his face. If not that, though, to throw another one out, it could be Punahele Soriano, who actually has a win over Euros Medic, but you know, caught him with a fucking shot quick. Man, that was kind of a weird fight. I still think, like, skill set wise, Medic is better than Puna Soriano. Remains to be seen, but for Saigid Izagakhmaev, definitely losing in Qatar. Like, they were trying to give him a chance for the setup, and it just didn't work, man. I have no fucking clue. I don't know. For Saigid Izagakhmaev, Billy Ray Goff. Does that sound good? Is Mickey Gall still on the roster? Fucking, if Mickey Gall's still around, give him Mickey Gall. Like, he should run over a lot of those people. Like Daniel Frunza. Like, he will beat a lot of guys in the welterweight unranked. Like, for sure. He's going to get people down and beat them up. It's just Dalby, you know, he's the definition of, like, top caliber gatekeeper, right around top 20, top 25. And for Saigid, doesn't have that top caliber potential. So we'll see what's next for him. And Dalby, good performance, hard fought winning. That weird breathing style works wonders. Luke Riley versus Bogdan Grad in the feature prelim, man. I feel like dancing to this, bro. Like, I am so hype right now. Luke Riley gets wrestle fucked in round 1 because Bogdan Grad did not want to strike with him, and you saw why. But I'm like, I said it during live. I was like, bro, I don't think he can keep this up. Like, I picked Luke Riley by knockout. I knew eventually he'd find the chin. Bang, bang, left hook on the inside as Bogdan Grad is way out of position, kind of slugging weird shots back at Riley. Down goes Grad, and then ground and pound from Luke Riley, thunderous ground and pound. He puts him out in round number 2 with a violent knockout. After the fight, gets on the mic. I think he won some fans over. I mean, that Scouse accent is different. I don't know how the fuck they do the thing with the K's. They're different animals, man. But I'll tell you, Luke Riley, definitely a fun watch. I love the striking style. I love the confidence. He's a young guy on the come up right now that I definitely think has some trend and potential upwards. And is someone to, you know, keep an eye on. Trains with Patty the Batty, undefeated as a pro. Beating Bogdan Grad is one thing, but knocking Bogdan the fuck out, that's a big deal. You know, Muhammad Naimov went the distance with him, and Riley knocked him the fuck out in round number 2, early in round number 2. I was impressed by that. I was. I have to say, I think Luke Riley's pretty sharp, man. I do. Luke Riley's a sharp customer. If he's on his back, like if you give him a Dagestani, you know what I'm saying? Then, okay, he's going to probably get wrestle fucked. You give him a real strong grappler, okay, there's struggle. I think slow and steady wins the race with Luke Riley right now. He's a decent prospect, but, you know, don't got to go too crazy. But the other element of this weight class is there's like all killers, though. Like, right now, you could say, okay, Michael Aswell, that's a fucking hard fight. Like, that's a dog fight. Luke Riley and Michael Aswell. Aswell actually lost to Bogdan Grad on Contender Series. That would be a dog fight. Do you give him a grappler like Genghis Khan Ofli? Ugh. I have no idea how to matchmake for him. With Luke Riley, like, I could see them giving him somebody making a debut. Or like a Ramon Tavares. They're probably going to look to try and build him up a little bit. Something along those lines, man. Bogdan Grad, tough. Only UFC win is Lucas Alexander, and he was losing that fight, to be fair. I have no fucking idea, bro. Do we keep Mohamed Yahya around again? Mohamed Yahya versus Bogdan Grad is the fight to make the next time the UFC goes to the Middle East, all right? Sometime next year. Bam. Matchmaker extraordinaire. Yeah, Riley's striking's real good. And his get-up game is solid. Like, he got taken down, but it's not like he got really, like, fucked up on the ground. Little ground and pound from Bogdan, but only 17 strikes landed in the fight. It's not like Bogdan beat the shit out of him in top position, you know? And Riley got 50K, so shout out to 50K Riley pulling it off. Sensational win. Let's jump to the main card. You guys are watching and enjoying. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And make sure you hype the video. Kyoji Horiguchi, I called it, took out Takeru Ulanbekov, and holy shit, Kyoji Horiguchi looked insane in this fight. I'm blown away. Seriously, I am blown away. I'm taking a sip of this damn drink right now. I'm so blown away. I'm about to go off. Kyoji Horiguchi is able to deal with the size of Takeru Ulanbekov, who was a fucking full head taller than him, with a 7-inch reach advantage. Outstruck him. Okay, connected with clean shots on the feet, defended takedowns, right? Found his way in top position, okay? It was just like a blow you away performance. Horiguchi was sharp in round one, chopping at the legs of Ulanbekov, catching him with good punches. Ulanbekov tried to grapple fuck a little bit, but couldn't do much. And then Horiguchi gets back up to his feet and connects with some shots. W round one, Horiguchi. Round number two, like Ulanbekov is really getting chopped down like a tree. Leg is giving out from under him. He's getting tuned up with shots. He's on his back. He's getting beaten up a bit. Counter of the takedowns there by Horiguchi. Ulanbekov falling to his back in moments. And then in round three, Ulanbekov gets dropped by a big hook by Horiguchi. He gets beat on. He gets hurt bad against the cage. Caught with a head kick in this final sequence as he goes down and Horiguchi chokes him out. And Ulanbekov doesn't tap. He goes to sleep. Kyoji Horiguchi not only won this fight, he knocked Tagir Ulanbekov down twice. He completely shut down his wrestling. He completely destroyed him in the striking. He turned him into a panic wrestler, beat the fuck out of him from top position, and then strangled him, okay, and put him to sleep. Talk about a blow the roof off the place UFC return. I picked Horiguchi. Of course, though, it's nerve-wracking to pick against a strong Dagestani and Tagir Ulanbekov, who's got a lot of size. But Kyoji Horiguchi is the best flyweight from Japan, period, ever. Obviously, Taira has a chance to try to take claim to it, and maybe eventually we see them fight. But Kyoji is the best flyweight ever from there. He was 7-1 in the UFC, left off a win streak. Went to Rise Bellator, was champion in both organizations, okay? At 125, he hasn't lost since Mighty Mouse, bro. Kyoji Horiguchi is a special mixed martial artist. So light on his feet, so slippery on the ground, confident with his power, just quick on the feet. The skill set is miraculous. I was blown away by Kyoji Horiguchi, better than I even expected. He went out there and fucked Tagir Ulanbekov up. And then, masterclass performance. What does he do after the fight? Masterclass on the microphone. Calls out his teammate Pantoja. Says he's going to beat his ass. Oh, my God. He was so charismatic, too, on the mic, and he's speaking English. Like, it was just great. Kyoji Horiguchi, if you're not a fan, you should be right now. Kyoji Horiguchi title shot. Right now. Fuck anything else. Kyoji Horiguchi title shot. Joshua Van Pantoja fighting in 2 weeks. Kyoji Horiguchi is next. He just destroyed Tagir Ulanbekov, the dark horse of the weight class, whose only UFC loss was a controversial one to Tim Elliott, who cheated throughout that whole fight, grabbing the gloves, grabbing the cage, etc., etc. Kyoji Horiguchi with a clean ass whooping on Tagir. That right there, I'm saying, give him the title shot. Give him the title shot. He's also on a 4-fight UFC winning streak, if you include his last stint of the UFC run. It makes perfect sense. And it's such a cool fight between him and Pantoja, because Horiguchi is a really good defensive wrestler. And Horiguchi is also a very sound kickboxer. It's just perfect. Perfect, perfect. They're both at ATT. The freaking cornermen are the same. That's going to be awkward. I don't know who's going to be in the corner of Horiguchi. Maybe Joshua Van will knock out Pantoja, and then they won't have to do that. And Horiguchi versus Van will happen. But I definitely think Kyoji Horiguchi should be next in line for the title because of what he's done in the UFC before, what he did outside of the UFC, and then obviously what he just did to the Dagestani wrestler in the damn flyweight division in Tagir Ulanbekov, making it look easy. That should earn him title shot, really whatever he wants, but title shot is the most sensible. So I'm on the give Kyoji a shot at gold ASAP. 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 35, still looking physically in his prime. He's got some natural athleticism and gifts that I think carry into that later stage. And it's like, to me, you have Van, and then it's like, okay, you have Taira versus the side of Moreno, which, like, yeah, I guess you could consider that a number one contender fight. But on the flip side, Taira still lost that decision to Brandon Royval, and I picked Royval as a savage dog lock there. And then, obviously, Van fighting for the belt. I picked as a savage dog lock against Royval. I locked his ass. Was there a dog there? I think I put him in a 2-leg parlay lock, but I don't know. Blurry. At the end of the day, I had Van as a confident pick. I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, I'd rather something new. And Kyoji Horiguchi is that new thing. And then, of course, you know, Taira goes out and beats Moreno. There's still options on the table. Royval cop fighting, winner of those fights could fight against one another, and then that would be the title shot. But I think Horiguchi's post-fight promo, too, pushed him into contention, regardless of maybe not having the win against a guy in the top 10, But Tagir Ulanbekov, ranked number 11 in the world, 4-fight UFC winning streak, and with Horiguchi's previous UFC run and just his star power outside of the UFC already coming upon his second UFC return, I think that puts him in the running for an actual world title fight. And thumbs up from me all the way through. I would love to see it. For Tagir Ulanbekov, this is a tough pill to swallow because, like, he didn't just lose. He got the ass whooping of a lifetime, man. Fuck. I don't know. I don't know with Tagir. I don't know when we see him back. I'd be intrigued to see him fight like a Rafael Filho. Something like that would kind of make sense, but hard to say, man. He took a bad loss here, and I heard from the commentary, they said Umar Nurmagomedov claimed he had the toughest weight cut of his life. So there's a chance he's got to go up to 135, and I don't love his chances at 135 because he's built like a scarecrow. Cheers to Kyoji Horiguchi. Fuck yeah. Next fight, Waldo Cortez Acosta, Shamil Gaziev. Listen, Waldo, if you don't just auto pick him at this point, you're wasting your time. I called him on 2 days' notice. I picked him against Gaziev. I said he's a confident pick. And he knocked a fat boy out quick. And I was confident Gaziev was going to get through Spivak. But then they throw him Waldo. Waldo is the BMF of the heavyweight division. He doesn't need a belt to be the BMF. Drops Gaziev in a combination against the cage. As Gaziev is pressing, Waldo's back is towards the cage. Catches him with a beautiful shot through there. Nice check hook. And then Gaziev on the ground, some ground and pound from Waldo. They get back to striking realm. And Waldo just sets up the perfect fucking overhand. Bam! On the Gaziev chance. Like, Gaziev knew it was coming. And he looks at it and he's like, well, my night's over with. Goes straight back and out. Like, looks like he's fucking covering his eyes. Like, he's ready to fucking drop some tears. God damn, his head was killing him. Concussive damage. Game, set, match. Waldo with a first-round knockout. If you are not a Where's Waldo fan at this point, you don't like MMA. If you don't think Where's Waldo should be in a number one contender fight next, you're an asshole, okay? Where's Waldo should be fighting against Alexander Volkov next for the title shot. I don't give a fuck about the the Pavlovich fight from several months ago. Pavlovich hasn't fought since then. And at the end of the day, Where's Waldo is ready to fight anywhere, anyone, anytime. He called out Curtis Blades for December 13th, UFC Vegas, okay, 113. He made that call. Maybe Curtis is crazy enough to take it, but I don't think he is. Maybe Volkov will be willing to take it if there's title implications, maybe. But if there's one guy that I could see jumping in, maybe Derek Lewis comes to save the day, and we go Derek Lewis versus Where's Waldo in the UFC Vegas 113 co-main event to close out the year. Is that not perfect? Is that not perfect? I'm down with it. Of course, if you talk about like timeline of return and like proper number one contender fight, Volkov's coming off the win, controversial, but the win, and he's probably in the running for a title shot. I think Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Alexander Volkov would also make a ton of sense. And like a Curtis Blades fight makes sense too. And then, you know, a Derek Lewis fight. If there's short notice fill-in type situations, then yes, that. Waldo's not far from a title fight. Like, you could say, oh, but Pavlovich got him. Yeah, but Pavlovich been inactive, man. Pavlovich is not pulling the Waldo fighting all the time. He's being testy about who he wants to fight. And Waldo still went distance against Pavlovich. And I swear to God, since that Pavlovich fight, Waldo has leveled the fuck up. 5 fights so far this year. He wants to make it 6. Give him a 6th. Guy deserves anything he wants from the UFC. Saving this fight on 2 days' notice. And saving the last time the fight by fighting with one eye after getting gouged by Ante Delia. Waldo Cortez Acosta is the definition of a badass. Now, for Shamil Gaziev, it goes from what looked like a great weekend ahead. Gaziev was a confident pick against Spivak. I thought he was going to destroy Sergey Spivak. So now he gets knocked the fuck out in the first round. I have no idea what you do with him. I mean, honestly, maybe Martian Tybura. Maybe he takes some time and they rebook the Spivak fight. But I don't know, man. This is a tough loss for Shamil. Like, he came into this week with a lot of hype. Looked like he had made some improvements, and then Waldo destroys him. I think Tybura makes sense. Give him a wash, Tybura. Or maybe even do Gaziev versus Delia. 2 Waldo victims facing off against one another. To be fair to Gaziev, though, I will say this, and I'm not trying to downplay Waldo's win at all. Obviously, I fucking love Waldo. Gaziev was preparing for a grappler in Sergey Spivak, and then it shifts to one of the best boxers in the UFC heavyweight division and Where's Waldo, which is a massive adjustment, okay? So I think Gaziev also deserves a little credit for being willing to take the fight. At the end of the day, Waldo destroyed him, though. Holy shit. Big win for Waldo. Jack Hermansson, Mitabek Orolbai, bruh. One punch to the fucking ear and it's over. Jack Hermansson, he wasn't just knocked out. He was like violently put to sleep with his eyes wide open. And I was genuinely scared that like he would be a vegetable after getting knocked out like that. Like I knock on wood. Like I'm not trying to be negative or pessimistic. I was nervous. The way he went out and he's just looking up. And then he's getting up and they're talking to him like, oh, the fight's over. He's like this. I'm like, is this guy going, you know, I'm not going to say anything else. You know, is he off kilter now? Did he lose some IQ points and some brain cells? Yeah, he was knocked out bad. He definitely, I guess he probably did lose some brain cells. But holy shit, Mitabek Orolbai. Jack Hermansson had cut from 185 to 170. I said it throughout the week. It's a worry. You have to worry about a guy's chin doing that. But I was like, but Mitabek's not the hardest puncher. Well, it didn't take that hard of a punch. It took a well-placed punch to the fucking ear. And Jack Hermansson was flat out in the first round. 2 minutes, 46 seconds. Holy shit. Holy shit. What would Mitabek Orolbai do to Joe Pyfer? Joking. MMA math doesn't work. But 170 Hermansson, it's too much weight to cut. And he's been knocked out in the first round in back-to-back fights. Like, I never thought 170 was the answer. It definitely wasn't. And now he gets knocked the fuck out terribly. Hermansson might need to consider calling it a career. And he probably doesn't want to hear that. So hopefully he's not watching my video for some reason. They didn't call this a knockout of the night? No performance of the night bonus for this? I guess you can't, right? With Horiguchi, Luke Riley, Waldo. But this should have also been a performance of the night, for God's sake. Dude, Jack Hermansson should go back up to middleweight. I don't think he should be at 170. But the problem is, like, okay, he goes back up to middleweight. What is really waiting there for him? Like, Michel Pereira, maybe? Like, what is the point? You're going to fight the Iron Turtle? I mean, maybe, but he probably gets knocked out. Dustin Stoltzfus? I guess I feel like Jack Hermansson's best days are behind him. Like, why does he need to keep dealing with this shit? Like, I get it, he wants to make a check, but it's like, I don't like him sticking around much longer. Like, I think Jack Hermansson is washed now. The chin seems gone. Yes, it was a perfectly placed punch. And yes, it was at 170, but like that damage carries weight and it carries over. Okay, what's that? Oh, we give him Roman Kopylov and then he gets knocked out again, you know? I think he should consider retiring. Now, for Mitabek Orolbai, I heard he said, I'm going to talk with my team. Granted, he didn't say this like in English, but he's going to talk with his team and they're going to decide whether he sticks at 170 pounds or goes to 155. And I wanted to grab my fucking hair and rip it out of my head because 155 pounds is not his weight class. He had 2 fights where he needed to move up, okay? 160 pounds against Rebeshki, 165 against Masayev. Okay, against Elves Brenner back in 2024, it was 155 pounds. But I'll be honest with you, the way that I think of it, he kind of gassed a little bit late. And like a lot of his career has been at welterweight. So it's like, for me, I'm confused with this like obsession of fighting at 155 pounds. Like since 2021, he's fought at 155 just once against Elves Brenner. Everything else has been 170. So I think of him as a welterweight. It's been 160, 165. But like that is the welterweight division. It's catchweight, but it's welterweight. Jesus. I feel like just stick around to where you're most comfortable. Stick around here. And he looks like a beast at welterweight. He looks fucking starved at 155. That's a 15-pound weight cut. Same like Hermansson's to 170. It's stupid. It diminishes his abilities. Like, I get it. These guys want to have the size advantage, but he was smaller than Jack Hermansson. He made it look easy. You don't need the size advantage if you got the skills that pay the bills, you know? I mean, look how good Islam looked at 170 versus what he looked like at 155. And I think at 170, you're telling me right now, at 170, Mitabek Orolbai doesn't beat a guy like Jake Matthews? You tell me right now he doesn't have a good shot in those type of fights? Because that's about the level he's at. Does he not have a chance to make a bit of a run at 170 pounds? I mean, Euros Medic looked amazing against Muslim Salikov, knocking him out quick, and he destroyed him on the ground. So, I don't know. I think for Mitsubek Orolbai, a consideration of sticking around here at 170 is a good idea, but knowing him, he'll probably want to cut down to 155 and then miss weight again. He's 27, and he's already having weight cutting issues at the weight class. I don't know, man. He needs like a proper nutritionist. Maybe you don't have one. I don't know. Good performance, though. Massive win. Sick knockout. Jack Hermansson. It was sad to watch, though. I felt bad for Jack. I really did. I felt bad for Jack Hermansson. Volkan Oezdemir destroyed Alonzo Menifield. Hey, leg one of the cycle parlay for this card. Volkan Oezdemir knockout. Absolutely blitzes and destroys Alonzo Menifield in round one. Menifield landed like one good overhand that kind of seemed to knock Oezdemir off balance in the early seconds of the fight. And then Oezdemir just walked him down, bullied him, and beat the absolute piss out of him. Volkan Oezdemir is still one of the best in the damn light heavyweight division, but because he never can fight stateside, people forget about him. Last fight was a Carlos Ulberg decision loss. This is a massive win as he destroys Alonzo Menifield. Now, granted, number 14 ranked Alonzo Menifield, so not massive as far as the rankings go. But as far as importance, this is massive. I want to see him fight Khalil Roundtree because Jamal Hill's going to be out a while. If Jamal Hill and him have a similar timeline of return, that's the fight to make. But I kind of like the idea of him versus Roundtree. Of course, though, there's a chance Azamat Mirzakhanov, Roundtree, there's the Yuri Prohashka. Like, there's a bit of a logjam. You know, Blachowicz is fighting against Bogdan Gushkov, but you can argue, wait, but Volkan beat Bogdan in his debut. If Jan Blachowicz beats Bogdan Gushkov, does, you know, Volkan not have a claim to say, hey, I want to fight Jan? A fight against Mirzakhanov, as good as it would be, I feel like when Mirzakhanov's win over Rakic, like, it might not be Volkan next. He might be moving upwards. And that would maybe be the Roundtree fight for Mirzakhanov instead. It really depends on what happens with Pereira. I don't know. And then obviously Magomed Ankalaev's return fight. In a perfect world, timelines don't exist. Jamal Hill, Volkan Oezdemir is a fight that I really want to see. For Alonzo Menifield, I actually think him and Mingyang Zhang, it's like the perfect time to do it. Both coming off bad losses. And let's match them up. Let's see what goes down. I think Mingyang Zhang could probably knock Alonzo out, but I'd want to witness it. Big win for Volkan Oezdemir. Still got it for sure. Actually, more than got it. He looked better than ever. He destroyed Alonzo Menifield in a minute 27 punches with massive punches against the cage. It was a punch into the fucking knee to the head, into just a flurry of savagery against the cage. Sensational win for Volkan Oezdemir. Co-main event. I'm taking the victory lap. I called Ian Machado Garry all week. All right. I believed that Ian Machado Garry was going to win a decision, and it would look similar to this. I said, he can stop the takedown. His movement's going to be too much. He'll pick Belal apart from distance. And look at that. He stopped all the takedowns, 0-7. Belal Muhammad missed every single takedown, okay? Ian Machado Garry fought the hands beautifully in the clinch, stopped the single leg shot, stopped it all, and pieced him up on the feet. It was 30-27 on my scorecard. Second round was close, but Ian Machado Garry stole it at the end for sure, landing a nasty elbow on the inside. Ian Machado Garry looked great. He's so hard to hit from distance with anything clean because he's so long and fast. If you catch him, he rolls with the shots well. His takedown defense is off the chain. He's slick from the outside with nasty leg kicks. He chopped apart Belal's legs, landed some oblique kicks too, caught him with straight shots and good punch combinations, tried a few high kicks that were blocked by Belal. Ian Machado Garry just looked like the sharpshooter. Landed more significant shots, busted Belal's face up. And I want to say this. First eye poke in round one was real. Second one was bullshit. It was a glove push that touched the eye. That's not qualifying of a timeout and then getting the doctor to come in and rub your eye down. So Belal also got blessed with that little bit of a break. That actually was a clean shot to his eye where the fight should have continued. And Ian Garry maybe was able to get some big shots together if that doesn't get paused. That was a clean attack. Yeah, man, Ian Machado Garry showed out this fight, picking apart Belal Muhammad for all three rounds. Now, granted, Belal had a decent second round and it was close, and I can see that's why there's a 29-28 there. But first round dominant, third round dominant, second round good, but an Ian Machado Garry win, able to stop all of Belal's takedowns. And this is the perfect warm-up for Islam Makhachev. Of course, Islam is serious levels above Belal Muhammad as far as wrestling, top control, and submission grappling go. There is a different game with Islam. But Ian Machado Garry, coming off the win over former champ, looked clean doing it, cut the promo inside of the cage post-fight, talked to the crew on the analyst desk post-fight as well, calling for that matchup. And the claim is made. I mean, what? Michael Morales deserves it more because he knocked out Sean Brady, who Bilal knocked out? Then he deserves it more. Carlos Prates win over Edwards is more than this. But because Jack Della won a decision against Bilal first, instead it goes to somebody else. Ian Machado Garry deserves the title shot next. And oh, well, Kamaru Usman. Usman's, what? His last win is Buckley. Before that, it's 2021. In this fucking current era of the damn welterweight division, Usman hasn't done much. And sure, you can say it's a legacy win to have a victory over Kamaru Usman. But if you really look at Kamaru Usman's run, all right, it consisted of the, Colby Covington wins, which at the time were huge, but they don't stack up now because Colby's past his prime. Masvidal twice, retired. Gilbert Burns towards the back end of the top 15. Woodley, retired. Leon Edwards beat him twice, and Leon is sliding downwards pretty bad. Lost to Khamzat Chimaev in 2023 in October, 2 years ago. So he won in June against Buckley, and now that is title shot winning. Of course, team, Ali Abdelaziz wants to have a deal with both fighters. He manages Islam and Usman. Of course, he wants the double paychecks for managing both guys and setting that fight up. But that's not the one to make. The real number one contender, of course, Shavkat Rakhmonov has a win over Ian Garry, but he hasn't fought since that win, and he's been out in the sidelines injured. Ian Garry's got 2 straight wins since then. And the Shavkat fight and the fight against Carlos Prates, short notice. Full camp Ian Garry picks apart, absolutely picks apart the side of the powerful Bilal Muhammad. And Tapology's rankings are stupid. Ian Garry was ranked number 11. With a win over Prates, he's ranked behind Prates, who's ranked number 7. UFC rankings have Ian Garry ranked at number 6 with Prates at 5. How the fuck does Prates jump him in the ranks when Ian Garry took that fight on short notice and tuned Prates up? Come on, man. Come on, man. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. I don't even understand. Ignore the rankings. That's how I feel. Ignore the rankings. Ignore the rankings, dude. Ignore the rankings. The rankings don't make sense. The rankings don't make sense at all. They're stupid. Now, Ian Machado Garry is high caliber, just beat Bilal Muhammad. And Michael Morales is sitting at number 3, jumping 5 spots because he beat Sean Brady. Like, the anti-Ian Garry bias from these fucking people doing the UFC rankings is crazy. Well, he just beat Bilal. So now I think that Ian Machado Garry is easily... these are the real rankings, okay? Ian Machado Garry, you can say he's number 2. We'll put Jack Della at number 1. Ian Machado Garry, number 2. Okay? Actually, no. Ian Machado Garry, number 3. Shavkat, number 2. Jack Della, number 1, right? Number 4, you could put Michael Morales or Bilal Muhammad. Probably Bilal and then Morales. These rankings are absolute delusion, bro. I might have to make a fucking video fixing these disgusting rankings and properly matchmaking this welterweight division because that makes 0 sense. If you want to just go off hype, yeah, give Usman, who had a great legacy, a title shot because they want to do Islam versus a name. But if we're talking about the now, Ian Machado Garry deserves a shot. And if Shavkat was active, obviously the undefeated Shavkat would deserve a shot. Michael Morales is close to it, but I think he needs one more. Yes, he looks sick, knocking out Sean Brady in the first round, but I don't think that supersedes a dominant win for Ian Machado Garry over the former champ Bilal Muhammad. He beat him better than Jack Della did. Yeah, it was 3 rounds instead of 5, sure, but I don't think anything was changing. If anything, Bilal might have got tuned up worse in the later rounds. Ian Machado Garry looked great, and I think him versus Islam Makhachev is the perfect fight to make next. Ireland versus Dagestan, part 2. Habib's protege versus, as Machado Garry said, Connor's protege, but Connor don't really claim Ian Garry. He should, but he doesn't. For Bilal, I mean, there's still tons of great fights for Bilal. Bilal versus Usman is still a perfect fight to make. They should just settle the beef in the octagon. Like, why are we waiting on that? Just do Bilal versus Usman. But Bilal, he's in a spot where he would take it, but Usman's like, only have a couple fights left, so I want a title shot. I'm the former dominant champ, so give me what I want because I'm saying I only have 2 fights left. But let's not go off merit of what is earned. Let's just go off what should be given. Like, oh, well, yeah, he earned it with his past legacy. But like, are we talking about now or are we talking about 2021? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Remains to be seen. I like Bilal versus Usman next, and I like Garry versus Makhachev next. But that is my personal take on it all. Let me know in the comments what you think is next. I do think Ian Garry had a badass performance, though, and I was blown away. How he shut down Bilal's wrestling and outstruck him in a clean affair. Good fight, and I like what I saw from Ian Machado Garry. And I actually like what I saw from Bilal. Bilal's still in his prime. Bilal still looks good. It's just Ian Machado Garry too sharp, too tactical from range, too good defensively at grappling. Let's jump to the main event. If you guys are watching and enjoying, hit the likes. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and hype that video too. Arman Tsarukyan did bad things to Dan Hooker. I predicted decision for Ian Garry as well, and Tsarukyan by submission. We did the cycle parlay of the big three, the plus 1900 mark, and it came through because I called Tsarukyan by sub all week. I was crazy about this one. I was like, what? It was like big plus money, plus 375, I believe, earlier in the week. And I was like, guys, to me, how I look at it is Tsarukyan's done 3 straight grappling matches. He's going to use his wrestling advantage and beat Dan Hooker by strangle. And he arm triangled him. Money call. Dan Hooker in the striking was scrapping with Arman Tsarukyan round 1, but Tsarukyan was still getting the better of him. Tsarukyan was landing clean shots, backing Dan Hooker up. Dan Hooker couldn't do much to Tsarukyan. Tsarukyan shooting some takedowns. Round 1, Dan Hooker drops for a deep ghillie, and respect on the ghillie attempt. It was tight. Lesser men would have tapped, but Arman Tsarukyan is a badass fighter. Found his way to scramble out, ends up on top, dominates the end of that round from top position. Even has, Hooker crucifixed at moments. Then when he wasn't crucifixed, it was like one arm pinned, one arm under. And Arman Tsarukyan dominates the rest of round 1. Clear round 1 win for Tsarukyan using the striking, the grappling, and escaping the ghillie. Round number 2 comes back. Tsarukyan's actually touching Dan Hooker up with good shots on the feet. Tsarukyan looks to engage in wrestling. What's Dan Hooker do? Pulls another ghillie. Tight. This one looks so tight. Tight submission attempt. Arman Tsarukyan's a badass motherfucker. There's a full 360, spins out, ends up in full guard top position. At this point, Dan Hooker's done. He's kind of just getting pounded on, beaten a bit. Tsarukyan passes, smash pass into the choke, into the arm triangle. It's game, set, match. Dan Hooker taps out. Arman Tsarukyan showed him levels on the ground and absolutely beat his ass, which I knew this was coming. Arman Tsarukyan in cage, I'm a big fan of what he does. Arman Tsarukyan is high level with the skills. Dude is definitely the #1 contender, and we need to do him versus Ilia Topuria next. We could say, oh, but Patty's hype and Gaethje and this and that. No, Arman Tsarukyan deserves the shot. Now, as long as he doesn't fumble it by headbutting Topuria before or throwing a fucking bottle at him or something crazy where it cuts him, then, that should be the fight. As long as he doesn't pull out, but he can make 155, and hopefully he doesn't have any pre-fight antics that get the fight canceled. I think Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria would be a perfect fight to make early next year. I get it. Tsarukyan just fought here in November, but I think he could turn it around in 2 months if the UFC asks and said, hey, let's start off the Paramount deal with Ilia Topuria, Arman Tsarukyan. Can you do it, Arman? You just ran through Dan Hooker in less than 10 minutes. I think he can make that type of turnaround for the world title shot. And I think he should do the UFC a favor, getting back on their good side by taking that title shot on, a shorter notice like that and stepping in and fighting Topuria in what is a real top contender versus the champion fight, instead of, as much as I love Patty, the hype of Patty, okay, but it's not a title deserving hype. And Justin Gaethje, who is a badass BMF but doesn't deserve the title shot, it's an Arman Tsarukyan all day that should be in the title picture, as he just ran over Dan Hooker easily and submitted him. And blessed the community, man, with the cycle parlay. I'm happy as hell about the plus 1900. But besides that, just the confident call on Tsarukyan and calling the submission and seeing how the fight would play out. And really what I did for a vast majority of this card going 12-2, I was very happy with how my analysis matched up with the reality of how the fights ended up going, right? Because we set the prediction and the hypothesis beforehand, and then to see it all go so smoothly, it hyped your boy up, man. It did. Arman Tsarukyan looked great. I want to see him fight for the title. He definitely poses a threat to Ilia Topuria with his wrestling. Definitely poses a threat with his kicking abilities and, his strike speed and combination striking. I will say, at times the way Arman Tsarukyan holds it set kind of reminds me a little bit of the brother, Alexandre Topuria. But I'll say this. I think Ilia Topuria punch power, big difference maker, and I think Topuria can stop the wrestling onslaught of Tsarukyan. And I could see Arman Tsarukyan stunned bad against Ilia Topuria, because Tsarukyan getting caught with some big shots, busted up. Like, I could see him wilting to the Topuria hand speed and punch combinations and the power that he has in those combinations. So obviously I would favor the side of Topuria when they fight, but Arman Tsarukyan is definitely #2 at lightweight right now, and we need to see him in the title picture. It has to happen. Enough of this shit. Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje is still a badass fight. I'd be down for that. I know Gaethje said he's going to retire if he doesn't get what he wants. What the fuck is that whining shit? How can he dictate the narrative like that? Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje would make more sense than Justin Gaethje versus Ilia Topuria right now. Because if you look at Gaethje, losses to Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, 2 guys ahead of him. Arman Tsarukyan is the #1 contender, and he just defended the spot against #6 Dan Hooker. Paddy Pimblett, as much as I like Paddy Pimblett, bro, his win is against fucking Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler be catching L's on L's on L's. And yeah, he fucked him up real bad. And I want to see Paddy Pimblett in a big spot. But I think maybe Pimblett versus somebody like a Gaethje would make more sense. Or even, you know, Pimblett, if they really wanted to push something crazy, Pimblett versus Charles Oliveira if they weren't going to do the Max Holloway BMF fight. But I think they are doing that. We'll see what the UFC decides. I mean, shit, Dan Hooker might fall into a Benoit Saint-Denis fight. And I think that's another bad matchup for Hooker. But I'd prefer to do like Hooker versus Gaethje just for a striker's delight. Even like Hooker versus Holloway for the striker's delight. But bro, Hooker would get destroyed on the feet. Hooker's losing those fights. But Hooker's a fun dude to have on the roster. He always brings entertaining fights, right? His grappling skills are the weakness. But you set him up against a striker, he's going to show out. He's going to be a dog. He's going to make it tough. Maybe Moicano will get his chance against Dan Hooker. We get to find out. Is Hooker really the turtle in the tree? Moicano gets to prove it. Bro, I'll be honest. The Moicano we're seeing now, I could see Hooker finding a way against him, especially against post-money Moicano. Post, he got the money Moicano. But yeah, definitely interesting. I'm excited as hell for this UFC lightweight division. Holy shit, it's on fire. There's so many good fights to be made. Lightweight on fire right now. Welterweight on fire right now. We got to see like premier fights, really top contender fights. These were double #1 contender fights in all actuality in lightweight and welterweight. If we're going based on merit and deserving a title shot and what that looks like, it's Arman Tsarukyan for the belt against Ilia, and it's Ian Garry for the belt against Islam Makhachev. That's what both of them mean to me. I was blown away, though. Blown away. Arman Tsarukyan looking a monster. As expected, but like it's great to see it all play out. He's good everywhere. His striking is so slick. He's got vicious ground and pound. Jailton Almeida should be taking notes. And he's got a good submission finishing game. Badass performance, sick win, going out, destroying Arman Tsarukyan. I'm making the case for him right now. This guy deserves the title shot. Made it look easy against Dan Hooker. Say what you want. Controversial split decision. I've said it. Yes, the Oliveira fight could have went the other way. But still on paper as a win over Oliveira. And unless it's an Oliveira rematch next for Tsarukyan, how can it not be a title fight? What are we going to do? Say, oh, well, sorry, Tsarukyan. You're going to have to wait. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to fight, what? Tsarukyan's going to have to fight Benoit Saint-Denis? Like, what are we really doing here? Tsarukyan is the #1 ranked guy. And then it's like, okay, BMF title, Max Holloway has it. They're not going to do Tsarukyan versus Max Holloway because the BMF title is like a whole nother thing in the weight class, which honestly kind of throws the weight class off. Because if they did decide to go some weird route, then okay, Arman Tsarukyan versus a Max Holloway is a pretty cool fight and definitely would, again, further cement his claim as the #1 contender. But I don't feel like he needs to. I think Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria. And then I actually think Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett makes the most sense. And then Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Like, this is kind of all just works itself out beautifully in the division. It's easy to matchmake if you're going merit-based matchmaking. But if you're going off hype and, oh, well, Paddy Pimblett this and that, and, oh, well, Gaethje's begging for it. He says he's going to retire. We don't want him to retire. Fuck that. Okay, you want to retire? All right. All right, we'll give you a #1 contender fight, but you're not getting a title shot. You got knocked the fuck out by Max Holloway badly. And I like Gaethje, but I'm just telling it as it is, man. And Max Holloway had already lost to the side of Ilia Topuria. You know? So, I don't know. Thoughts from the boy with everything going on with the lightweight division. I just think Arman Tsarukyan is so deserving of the shot. Yes, the pre-fight antics pissed me off with the headbutt. But as far as in-cage action, Tsarukyan's a bad man and deserves a chance at gold against Ilia Topuria. And that is also such a high-level skilled matchup between two guys in their fucking primes. Like, come on, man. Like, how can we pass up on that fight? Arman Tsarukyan right now, it's like he's 29 years old. Do it now. All right, what are we going to do? We're going to wait? We're going to have Ilia fight somebody else? Like, oh, well, the Paddy fight's bigger. Unless they're doing it in the UK, I guess. Come on, man. Come on. 28 versus 29. It's the time. Patty needs one more. He's got to beat a Gaethje. Let's do Oliveira versus Holloway. Tsarukyan versus Topuria is the fight to be made. And real fans of the sport know that will prove who really is number one. I think it is Topuria, but he still got to prove it when the cage door closes. UFC Qatar was amazing. I can go on, bro. I could go on for an hour just hyping up UFC Qatar. Seriously, I could just be like, UFC Qatar, such a great card. I fucking love it. I can go on and 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 on. Bro, I really could. But I will say, I want to talk about how the picks went down and cover everything there. As far as the predictions, perfect prediction, Arman Tsarukyan by submission over Dan Hooker. And even before the fight, somebody said Mystic Mac J in chat, give me the round, second round. Bam. Ian Garry by decision over Bilal. Bam. Volkan by first round knockout against Menifield. I thought it was first or second, though, to be fair. I ain't going to take too much credit there. But called the knockout. Bam. Mitsubeki Orolbai over Hermansson. Waldo over Shamil. Horiguchi over Ulanbekov. Riley by knockout over Grad. Obviously lost with Saigid to Nicolas Dalby. Won with Almabayev to Perez. Though the over 2.5 didn't hit, which made me sad. I should have just trusted straight fighter instincts, man. But is what it is. Had to sacrifice one good call for the rest to hit. Abdul Rahman Yakhyaev over Cerqueira by submission, money call. Topuria by decision over Almakhan in the fight going distance, bang. Lost with terrible Loder pick. Oh my God. I'm embarrassed of this one, to be honest. Aliev decision win over Shamrock, and Denzel Freeman win over Bujło. So 12 wins, 2 losses on the card with, you know, the Savage plus 1962 cycle parlay coming through. I'm happy about, as well as the alternate to it, the plus 690 with Tsarukyan inside distance. If you wanted to, you know, save yourself on both ends, if you were worried about, hey, maybe he goes out and, you know, wins the fight by a knockout, which I get it too, because he was dropping some fucking big ground and pound on Dan Hooker, and he had Dan Hooker looking a tad bit compromised too on the feet in certain moments. And then as far as the safer parlays, Safe City at minus 145, Safe City alternate at minus 136, Tsarukyan Garry, Tsarukyan Oezdemir, Garry Oezdemir, plus 103. Obviously, Garry and then the Perez Almabayev one loses. I should have just went Almabayev straight or Orolbai, bro. I'm pissed because I had initial instincts and then I just went against him and I wanted to slap myself. But it is what it is. Almost forgot to include this segment. Ian Garry Khamzat Chimaev. So things seem friendly between the two backstage, but they quickly took a dark turn as Ian Machado Garry was shoved by Khamzat. Let's watch this real quick and enjoy it together.
He's not going to fight me. He's good. He's a champion. Don't worry. What's wrong?
So Khamzat Chimaev got pissed. At what? What was said that pissed him off? We got to try and hear this. Because Ian Garry said to the security, oh, he's not going to fight me. And you can see Khamzat has, looks like a genuine smile and then a quick shift in emotions. Let's rewatch it. Let's just watch Khamzat. What got cut? What got cut from the camera angle? You see? There was a cut that happened. What was said during the cut? Because we hear, and then we end up there. So there's something that got lost in translation. Khamzat didn't look too pissed, and then here he looked pissed. He says, what's wrong?
Whoa. Come on, relax.
And Khamzat's pissed. He goes off. Let's watch the rest.
Dude, that's just childish. You're meant to be a champion in this sport. Look at me. You're meant to be.
Hamzat can't hear nothing. You don't know what the fuck Ian Garry's saying. You're going to be a champion. You're supposed to carry yourself with respect. You didn't hear nothing.
A champion in this sport. Your friend just won. Don't ruin his victory. Man, congratulations.
Ian Garry spoke about laughter. I won't play that clip. I'll just tell you. He said that he thinks that Khamzat was acting childish. And he said that it's small dick syndrome, the way that he went off on him like that, because he's always got to prove how tough he is when he has the belt already around his waist. Pretty funny by Ian Garry. I like the slick shit talk that Ian Garry's putting together. But yeah, there's something missing there that we didn't get to see that caused Khamzat to shift. Because I know it seemed like they were friendly at first, and like Khamzat and him both pat each other on the back. And then, you know, he's like, oh, the champ's not going to fight me. And then next thing you know, Ian Garry's like, oh, what's wrong? And then Khamzat lost it. I really wish we had that little missing piece, you know? You got to have a good eye to notice there's a slight cut up in there. So I wonder if that'll be released at some point. But, I mean, listen, don't fuck with Khamzat. If you say something Khamzat don't like, he's going to be ready to strangle and smash you too, Ian Garry. And be careful around Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, he hangs out with Arman Tsarukyan. They're both quick to fucking lose it. Khamzat laying hands on him, shoving him. I think unnecessary, but it's Khamzat. He's going to lose his fucking cool. Now, if you would have headbutted him, I would have been talking different shit. I would have had to say something different, you know? But at the end of the day, some of these savages are not so chill. And they ain't going to take, you know, a light little smirky joke, you know, and obviously with Ian Garry calling out Islam Makhachev, they're all in, you know, the Muslim Brotherhood type of thing. There's a connection between them all. Granted, you know, Tsarukyan wanted to fight against Islam at one point, and then he's buddies with Arman. I don't know. But, you know, you're still left out of the group, Ian Machado Garry. So, you know, tread lightly and walk with care and caution. But thankfully, nothing really blew over. But I do like the little interaction. And, hey, maybe if he gets past the side of Islam Makhachev, we see super fight jump attempt for Ian Garry. Like, in his perfect world, he's looking to challenge Khamzat Chimaev, and they got this as a little early promo clip to set it all up. Had to react to it just to add something to it and go over what it went down backstage, because I thought the shit was pretty funny too. Because the thunder still rolls, and I can't be upset with how things ended, man. So overall, UFC Qatar brought the thunder, as did I. And we have a week off, but it ain't a week off for me. It's a week off for the UFC. UFC 323, the last ever UFC pay-per-view, full card predictions on the channel tomorrow. So make sure you guys watch. Monday, we'll be live talking about UFC Qatar and obviously talking 323. I'll be live in the early hours of the afternoon, live in the later hours of the evening. And then Tuesday, be live, early hours of the afternoon, later hours in the evening, but I'm bringing it back. The UFC 5 gaming stream Tuesday evening. Make sure you guys tune into the special show. And then I'll be doing something similar Wednesday, and then probably a little Thursday Thanksgiving show. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to be on a little vacation. Be back Monday for Moneyline. Maybe I'll go live on vacay. We'll see what I got going on, you know? We'll see what happens. We'll talk next week, though, all right? Make sure you tune into the full card picks. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys enjoyed the card as much as I did. I absolutely loved it. Thank you to the Savages for supporting. Make sure you guys hit subscribe, hit the likes, hype the video. W in the comments if you got nothing to say. But I want to hear from you guys down below. Title shots, Tsarukyan and Garry. Do you agree with me? Or you on some other side? You on some other side? You on the wrong side. But seriously, all jokes aside, I want to hear from you guys in the comments. So let me know. And if not, W in the comments to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And I love each and every one of you Savages. Thank you guys for the continued support. Good night. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.